What's up? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am terribly sorry for the hiatus. Um, it's multitude of reasons, mostly laziness and that kind of shit. But I got a lot of shit going on in the house, so needed a little bit of a break. Uh, you know, Someone got a new job. I don't know if they're gonna talk about that, but just letting you know. Um, so it wasn't complete negligence. Anyway, tonight, thank you for joining in. We are going to talk about horror films. This is Horror Films 101. We're not deep diving, we're just going A to Z, giving you the gist. And yeah, man. So let's get it started. Bringing in my co host, Big Swerve. Uh oh, you're
I was
muted,
in.
buddy.
Nah,
There we go.
yeah. We're going in there.
What's
Going in.
crapping?
Not much, not much. Just hanging in there, man. Nerdology 101. Speaking to all our disciples out here. Yeah. For the longest time, they've thrilled you, they've chilled you.
Gang,
Whether
gang.
it was going in through the drive-ins of the movie theaters for all you old heads out there, or catching on the B movie videotapes back when there was VHS
Yes.
and then DVDs, whether it was going in late at night, sneaking up when your parents were asleep to turn on the HBO cable and catch those late night flicks right when they were watching, like I did with Alien, right when they didn't know. Either way, we've all grown up with horror films. And for one reason or another, we've clung on to them. They're a cultural phenomenon. We enjoy the whole escapism, fear that's rivaled in it. And for even a long while later on, we even developed a few heroes from the horror flicks. That's right. There was a time you would root for the bad guy.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that was the
That is
80s.
really weird. Like even the
That is the
bad
80s.
bad guys, right? Like
Yeah,
even the bad guys, like you just looked forward to another movie coming out. You kind of
yeah,
rooted for him. It was
yeah.
kind of twisted.
Well,
Like
a
yeah, they
lot.
were killing innocent people, but you're like, he's cool.
Yeah, but there's a certain tongue in cheekness to it. And then of course that comes in horror. Believe it or not, you'll find out does share did walk hand in hand with comedy for quite some time and sooner than people think.
I didn't like that.
No, are
I
you kidding
I
me?
did not.
Some of that is
I did not like
humor
that
and
era.
horror.
All right,
Humor and
we'll
horror.
get there. We'll get
Yeah,
there.
we'll get
I
there.
don't mind a little bit. I don't like it when it's Shakespearean. Like if you're gonna take me to the height of laughter and then shock me with like the worst gore I've ever seen in my life, I'm okay with that. But at the point that like say Chucky becomes a fucking joke, it's just like I'm not with this shit.
Well, yeah, not
Let's not go
every
too
horror.
deep into it. But
Yeah, we're not going to cover that. Chucky is not what I'm referring to, but
all right,
yes,
okay, cool, cool. As long as we weren't justifying like
no,
fucking
we're
Freddy hitting like one liners and shit. That shit was stupid.
no
But
that
anyway.
that's part of Freddy's charm. But
Mm.
again, that's what made him a horror hero.
All right, man. So let me bring in our other co-host, Mr.
Troubled.
Ivan Nevis.
What's up, guys? God, we start right on time now.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
yeah, man.
I jumped in.
Yeah,
I thought,
dude.
oh, usually, we have like a couple seconds to talk and kind of catch up and figure out, hey, what are we doing?
Yeah. If we were responsible, we would do that.
We
Yeah.
would.
We probably should do that.
Like I was like, God damn, I mean, 9 o'clock on the dot. I jumped on and I thought, well, maybe we'll start a few minutes late. And the damn credits were rolling. I was like, Jesus, dude! Like I almost got left behind.
Yep.
I mean, what's the fun in that though, man? We
Yeah.
got to live a little, live on the edge.
Oh man. Well,
Come
look,
on, the distinct pleasure of watching three degenerates talk about nerd stuff is always entertaining.
well, I'm a big fan of living on the edge, dude. I don't know if you guys ever heard me say, like, I'm a big fan of, like when people talk about buying everything cash, and I'm like, man, you don't use credit, dude. That's like the American way, man. Like, if you don't live somewhat beyond your means, you're not living at all, dude. Like, what the hell is that? Like, live a little on the edge. You know what I mean? Like, worry about a payment every once in a while, you know? But that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But to interject on what you guys were just talking about, and I don't know exactly, in what direction you guys want to take this right now, but the comedy mix with horror, I'm not a big fan of that either. I think that some things can be mixed into horror, but like the one that I was thinking of was Freddie hitting one-liners. Like right when Nelson said that, I was like, yo, that is exactly what I thought of. Like, it was so campy and so slapstick that I was just like, it's too much. It's either like,
but it's
almost
Freddy.
like it's lost its identity. You know what I mean? Like, what are you trying to do?
It's what made Freddy.
It's what the very first one was a scary movie.
He didn't start off that way, man.
Yeah,
he was more of an entity.
Don't get me wrong.
Anyway, listen, man. Listen. Before we get into the minutia of it, I just want to bring in our special guest today.
All right.
Now, we've had him on before, but let me tell you something, okay? This man is a fucking horror film expert. This motherfucker lives and dies by horror films. Like, I go to his house, and that's all he watches. Like, he'll rewatch shit. It just, dude, it just runs 24/7, like the fucking horror channel, all day, all night. Swear to God. But let me bring him in, man. Kalice.
Yo.
All right.
The man, the myth, the legend. Oh shit, that gray is coming in, bro.
Hey.
That shit looks gangster. You look like a Hawaiian Ra's al Ghul.
Hey, I'm trying. That's what I was going for. But real quick though, I heard y'all hating on my boy Freddie, man. What's going on, man?
No. Au contraire, mon frere. He is one of my favorites. I don't like that they made him like just like a goofy kind of guy towards the end of the film.
It happened. Yeah?
I don't like it.
That's how he grew into that.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, he always had comedy. Even in the first one, it just wasn't as much. You know what I'm saying? But he always had that comedy aspect.
But would you agree?
Freddie's a mind fuck.
Right, but you don't think it was sinister? You don't think it was sinister in the first few films, and then it just sort of became corny?
It became more corny, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like after
the jokes, the comedy in like part 1 and 2, it was fucking sinister. Like he would say shit, and I mean, hearing somebody say some shit like that, like they're joking about killing you. That's fucking sinister.
Yeah.
But towards the end, I don't know. It was just kind of corny.
Well, that plays into his
it was like sideshow, like it was like sideshow jokes. Like it became campy. It did. I mean, you can't take that away from that.
Well, that's because the writing got campier. I think when they finally figured out, and we'll discuss this later, I think when they finally figured out, as far as horror heroes go, is yes, it was an 80s thing. The horror hero was an 80s thing. And going out of the 80s, we realized that these horror characters, little kids were running around in costumes with Freddy claws and everything. And they must have seen the movie. They didn't. It's not like they didn't know. But people were just drawn to that character. It became less about the quote-unquote victims than it became about the character himself. How creative and how dastardly is, Freddy going to be? He literally became the modern day. He became the modern day Dick Dastardly.
Right. This is what Freddie does. And I remember a call I got from Nelson. He was talking, called me because he was like, "Yeah, I want my kids to watch some horror movies. What should we watch?" And I was like, "Let them watch Nightmare on Elm Street." I was like, "I'm gonna tell you something. They're gonna laugh. They're gonna think it's funny until it's time to go to bed."
Right.
And then when they go in their bedroom at night and them lights go out and they start thinking about that Freddy Krueger movie.
Freddy's gonna get me if I fall asleep.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because that's how Freddy mind fucks you.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing with Freddy Krueger. Like he's funny, but then you go to lay down and go to bed and you're like, oh shit.
Right. Shit.
What
when you start dozing off,
right,
and you're trying not to sleep. Like, listen, anybody watching this that has ever stayed up late drinking like a motherfucker, and you got to drive home and you're falling asleep, like, you know how hard it is to not fall asleep, and you're driving a vehicle on a highway
Mm.
and it's impossible to not fall asleep. Imagine being home and you're just trying not to sleep, and Freddy's coming for you, and you know Freddy's coming for you.
Right.
You can't escape sleep.
Well, for me personally, my
Hey, real quick.
Right.
I'm not condoning drinking and driving. I just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah,
Right.
of course. Well, to bring it in, my foray into horror films is that horror films, for me, solidified my entry into the film genre at all. I always say before I
Yeah, because
hit age 9.
Irv, you got introduced to horror films when it was radio theater, right?
Nah, funny. No. Yeah.
The whole
I was there for the
on the radio.
I was there for the independent movie film company. I had shots with Lon Chanley Jr.
Him and Bella Lugosi.
Bela I'm Dracula.
The crypt keeper was the senior vice president.
The crypt keeper was still alive.
Right. He was
So my
they went to high school together, dude.
Right.
My foray to it was when I was 9 years old. Up until then, I was like, most kids, 8 or 9 years old, like most kids. Pete's Dragon, Escape from Witch Mountain, that was a thing. And I saw this commercial.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I saw this commercial for this thing called Alien. So I waited till late night. My parents were doing their thing, weren't even paying attention. I turned it on to HBO. My life changed forever. That was what got me into movies as a thing. The spectacle of it.
Alien is sci-fi horror. That's a different genre.
That's what I was going to say.
That's a subgenre.
It was interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was new. It was
But it was
that's by far my favorite.
Now,
oh yeah.
I would like to say it wasn't the first time they did horror with aliens. Like we still had the Blob. We still had
we had the Blob,
the People Snatcher, or what the fuck was
Body
that?
Snatchers.
Yeah, Body Snatchers.
The Body Snatchers.
Yeah, but what did people have? What did people have? They envisioned, small green men with big eyes and little.
No, for sure. I'm not
circles
comparing
coming
them.
around them.
Yeah. I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying that Aliens was the first time we got a full-blown sci-fi film horror. That was like the first.
Like it was. If you broke Alien down to its core, it's essentially a slasher film, which started in the late 70s. It was essentially a slasher film set in outer space. The alien, that's what it did. All it did was kill. Very little was known about it. It just killed people. Now, there were a lot of art in going into that. Who could forget that big scene where they walk into that room and they see the navigator inside that spaceship, that fossilized corpse that's there. Great scene. That atmosphere was incredible.
Yeah, man. That was, man.
I'm thinking before Alien. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking before Alien, The Thing was out. And that was that with Kurt Russell.
Would that be sci-fi?
That's sci-fi horror.
John Carpenter comes after. John Carpenter's The Thing comes after. That was with Kurt Russell.
The Thing was in the 80s, right?
Thing was in the 80s.
82.
Alien, I do believe, 82. Alien was
78? Yeah, 78.
Yeah.
Because
I don't think I was even born yet when Alien came out. Like, I was fortunate enough that I grew up in a household where, I was the youngest person, and I wasn't gonna. They weren't gonna let me stop them from watching what they wanted to watch in the movie.
Oh,
theater.
dude, yeah, I think we all grew up that way.
It was just like, hey, look, sorry, hey, if you can't watch it,
right, leave.
Right.
Then, I don't know. Close your fucking eyes, because we're paying for 5 tickets to go see a movie, and we're not gonna go watch fucking a cartoon,
right,
when no one else wants to watch that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it just happens to be Aliens came out, and I remember Irvin was like, "Let's go watch Aliens."
Dog.
And I was like, "All right."
Yeah,
And
Alien was
I loved it. I was
79.
like, "God, this movie is
79.
fucking amazing." Dude.
Alien was 79, not Aliens.
Yeah.
Right.
Aliens was like came out around like just after Back to the
86?
Future. Like
86, I believe. 86,
87, something like that.
86 was Aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
86.
to touch back on what Ivan was saying, like our generation, I believe it was our generation. I talk to people my age, and everybody has similar stories. Our parents will watch almost anything in front of us. But dude, I remember specifically my dad put on a horror film. When I say horror, it's not the bullshit that's out today. Like this shit was bad. I put it this way, I can't even tell you what happened because it's YouTube. Like real shit. This was fucked up. And dude, I'm like traumatized watching this. And my mom walks in the room and says, you know, Lewis, my dad, he's like, Lewis, what are you doing? Steve is in the room. And my dad goes, man, don't worry, he's too young. He won't remember this. Needless to say, I remembered it, dog. Right. Like, dog, off air, like when we get off, I'll tell you what I saw.
What movie was it?
No way. I don't remember, dog. Honestly, it's one of my first memories. I must have been like 4. It was one of my first memories, dude. And like when we get off, I'll tell you, dog. Like dog, it was fucked up. Like there's no way I would watch that with my kids. No way. But,
well, that was us going in, but the aliens phenomenon, a little known fact here. The aliens, and it was a phenomenon. James Cameron gave us the action horror film with aliens.
yes.
I was the one who tried to convince my mom and dad to go ahead and take us, but we had little Ivan and my other little brother.
I don't think it was that difficult. I was like, okay,
yeah, they were like, are you sure? I mean, you know, their kid was going into 7th grade. They're like wondering, yeah, and he seems to like this horror thing a bit much. We went to see it. Apparently, a lot of kids got to purchase tickets to the other film, Pretty Woman and Top Gun, on the rewatch, and they were purchasing those tickets just so they could hop in the theater to see Aliens. Because word got around if you were in elementary school or
wait,
middle school. Word got
you
around.
could buy a ticket for Pretty Woman, but not Alien?
Yeah, they did not check.
What?
Yeah.
So you could watch a story about a hooker.
Yeah.
But not Alien.
With a golden heart.
Oh, right on. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So people were going to pick all these.
The hooker with the golden heart.
Yeah.
The alien queen had a golden heart too.
Wow. Hey, she was mom of the year.
Right?
Mom of the year.
You saw how she was defending her babies?
Fucking right.
Wow.
Yeah, the xenomorph changed the game, man. It was epic. It was epic.
It became iconic. The xenomorph is iconic, dude.
You want to know how successful it was with kids? So many kids had gone around to see, and it wasn't just unique to our area here in the DMV. It was happening all over the country. So yeah, certain films, Crocodile Dundee was another one. Kids were purchasing the Crocodile Dundee tickets to go see Aliens. They just could not pick the rated R film.
Oh,
So they picked some other movie, and they would go over to see it. Oh yeah, look at that!
Dope.
Oh, that's beautiful. By the way, for those who want to collect, for those who do collect, Haya Toys is bringing out their 1/18th Alien Queens coming out. Oh, beautiful! Ordered mine already, so I'm waiting on that. The Power Loader Haya. There we go.
Nice.
Is that
by the way?
pop?
This is a Q-Fig.
Q-Fig.
And I just ordered the Alien Queen too of this one, Q-Fig.
That's cool.
Yeah.
One of the greatest lines in Hollywood history. Get away from her, you.
All right. Herb, we're 20 minutes in, man. Kick us off.
So here we go. But just
start from the beginning.
All right, I'm about to.
A to Z. Let's do it.
Just this little thing. Just a little weird thing. It was so popular with kids that animation studios got word that they were hearing from their kids, why don't you make an Aliens cartoon? And sure enough, the very production company that had already won awards making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was going to make an animated aliens cartoon called Operation Aliens. If you ever see those old Kenner figures come out where the characters look cartoony, but some of the Marines look really muscular, yes, it was going to be an animated version of G.I. Joe with aliens in it.
That's pretty dope.
That was going to be a cartoon.
You know, Marvel. You know, Marvel owns the rights to the comic book property for Aliens. It's pretty dope. They just released this shit. It's like 4 books in. It's pretty dope.
So where do I start?
I can barely make that out, Nelson. It's so dark.
It's a Q figure. I mean, it's a Funko Pop Xenomorph.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
It's in the dark.
There you go. Yeah. Now I can see what it is. Yeah, that thing's cool, man. What is that? Looks like glass.
Nelson was born in the dark. Oh yeah, that's dope with the skull.
Yeah,
and
I like how they did that. The original Alien, you could barely see. If you look closely, you'll see the skull
handmade.
That's
clay or something.
That's dope.
Yeah, those are Logan's.
So let's start at the beginning, shall we? With the original, going back to Lon Chaney Jr. Now, with them, you had, you're going to start from the very beginning. Before there was Universal, there was IMP, which is Independent Movie Productions. And this is where they started with the original 1913 Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They had The Hunchback of Notre Dame starring Lon Chaney. Lon Chaney was the actor you got to play horror figure characters. This is before the Bela Lugosi era. Well, they also did the silent film Phantom of the Opera in 1925. And this is where it comes in. Enough praise and enough money started coming in where they became a legitimate studio. They're going to be called Universal Pictures, and they're going to start up all these monster flicks. This is all of the classics. All of the classics. First off, 1931, you had Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, who set the standard. Now, for the art heads in here, there was, in 1913, Nosferatu, which is the German silent film. Nosferatu. The German silent film, which was remade in 1979, Nosferatu as well. I highly recommend checking out the 1979 flick. Roger Ebert listed it amongst one of the greater films.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Roger Ebert. And he stated, while he doesn't believe in vampires, but if they were real, this is what they should be like. Good film.
There's a movie called Nosferatu. I believe that might be the name of it too, but Willem Dafoe plays the actor who actually played the Nosferatu, and he was a method actor. So it's crazy the shit. He actually lived his life as like a vampire to get in and stay in the role. You know what I'm saying? Like he thought he was like dead ass a vampire. So yeah, it's a pretty dope movie.
It's a good movie. It is a good movie about the making of Nosferatu. Yeah, the movie within the movie, so to speak. Mm-hmm. It's very brilliantly done. It had all the had all the artistic actors in there. Great film, great choice. Mm-hmm. So after you get 1931, you have Dracula again, Bela Lugosi, who set the standard for how you would play Vlad Giuseppe or Dracula, Count Dracula, who is an actual historical figure. Now, here's a little nitbit. There are
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, Vlad the Impaler. Here's a little tidbit here. There were 2 films of Dracula released at the exact same time, same year, by the same studio, using the exact same set. During the day, they would film Bela Lugosi's American release of Dracula. At night, using the same set, same script, but in Spanish, they would film Dracula for international release. So you had those 2. While Bela Lugosi set the standard for the accent and everything else, so you portray the character, the suaveness was done on the Spanish end. The idea of the romantic vampire, that was the Spanish film. So going over after
Yeah, I always
that,
wondered. I think that's kind of cool that you mentioned that, because I always wondered, like where did that come from? You know what I mean? Like this guy's like a dead, pale, gross looking individual.
You almost can't unmarry the two now, right?
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
But yet he is the epitome of romance. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is,
Well, the vampire is in general is, but I guess it does stream from that. You know what I'm saying? But the story of the vampire in general is a romantic story.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of seductive.
And all, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of seductive elements to the vampire. I mean,
a lot of STDs.
first and foremost, they're sucking on your neck. That alone is seductive. You know what I'm saying? And then the very idea of immortality is seductive. So there's a lot of seductive elements in the lore of the vampire. So it only made sense to.
But you think that immortality, because they're like lonely and always looking for companionship? Is that what you mean?
No. That's later on. That's later
seductive for mortals, right? The idea of living forever is very
forever.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
I find it the opposite. I find it like it's almost like tragic. You know what I mean? Like live forever.
This guy. You're one of those guys.
I think that's tragic.
I wouldn't want to live forever. I'd see all my friends dying. Like, dude, like, by the time you lost your 100th fucking friend, you wouldn't give a fuck. You would not give a fuck, dog.
But that's probably why they're loners, though. That's probably why they're loners.
Absolutely. My first dog died. Dog, I was devastated. Yes. Like now, I'm like, so that's what happened.
Right, so as an aside, have a dog, they die. You're talking about the whole thing with the with Interview with the Vampire, the books by what's her name?
Anne Rice.
Anne Rice, the Anne Rice books. But she does make a point. Eventually, everything around you dies. You do not change. So most vampires just kill themselves.
Yeah. And all Anne Rice's vampires are bisexual.
Yeah,
they fuck. You know what I'm saying? But think about it. You're alive for hundreds and thousands of billions of years.
Shit becomes boring.
You're gonna be like, man, I'm trying whatever. I've been alive 100 years.
You done. I'll try whatever at this point.
Dog, you have
exciting anymore.
You have hit every. You have done everything in the Karma Sutra.
You probably made up half the shit. You probably made up half the shit people do. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It was a vampire that wrote the Karma Sutra. He was like, "Look, check it out. If you put your legs upside down."
Yeah, there's actually quite a few. Again, this is European films, not American films. But European films, especially Eastern European films, they do make, or German films, stuff like that. They do make vampire movies, but there is a mix of the horror and comedy. Like they'll have a vampire couple that's like going through a divorce. They're not gonna separate. They're the only vampires on there. She tries to get an affair with a young artist, and he tries to paint her, and he's sitting there hitting the brush on the palette, and the brush just keeps spreading. The paint never goes on there. You know, because it's she's a vampire. You can have any vampires don't get the image.
Huh.
Yeah. So that's a scene right there. He's like I somehow can't paint her. Little things like that.
I thought that was reflection. Reflection is
it's the reflection cameras. You cannot.
They always change shit. It used to be a stake in the heart.
In Interview with a Vampire, they had paintings. You know,
they had
paintings of the vampire. So the lore changes with
the lore changes, man. Because in some of the lore, the stake in the heart kills them. In other ones, it puts you in suspended animation. If somebody dislodges the stake, they come back. There's all sorts of lore. In some lore, in some lore, they grow canines. In other lore, they just chomp with human teeth.
In some lore, they sparkle in daylight. You know.
Yeah, that one. That
those are
Lord.
not
We're not
Like
counting
Nelson.
that,
That's
bro.
what
those are not
Nelson
soft.
sparkles in the daylight. That's why he don't got no light on right now.
Oh, no,
I do.
He would be sparkling.
No, that's his lotion, you know.
This is
I
lotion.
have to use
Sorry,
incandescent
glistening.
light. I can't use
Jesus. If there was
light with
one,
UV burns me.
if that room was like one fucking lumen less, we couldn't see
I
it.
know.
Like,
I know.
he's in there in secret, dude. Like his family is not letting him do this. He's like,
Yeah, right.
turn off the
Like
light.
he's
I'm in the downstairs bathroom right now.
Every few minutes he's turning around like this. He's looking behind, making sure his wife ain't coming.
You drinking on a Tuesday?
Right.
Oh, man, dude.
All right, so let's go ahead here. Well, right after Bela Lugosi sets the standard again for the vampire and how to react in Western media. Of course, again, the Spanish film had all the suaveness and romanticism. Then you go into the next one, which is Frankenstein, and that's with good old-fashioned Boris Karloff, who played the monster. Nerd tip: the monster is just simply the monster. He's not Frankenstein.
Frankenstein
Is the doctor.
Preach.
And much like
I can't
how
tell you how much
Dracula-
that bothers me when I hear people say that.
Right.
It's because
I'm like,
it's
don't nerd out. Don't nerd
no,
out, Nelson.
It's the it's the
Hold it in.
The Frankenstein monster was, there were qualities about him that were actually likable because it was like an evil. I don't want to say evil. It was like a dark child. It didn't know what it was doing. It didn't know right from wrong.
Yeah.
The
It
monster
wasn't necessarily.
was
It
the
wasn't
doctor
evil
that
at
made
all.
It was like
wasn't
a
evil at
symptom.
all. Right.
Yeah, it was a symptom. I mean, come on. Plus, the film had one of the greatest lines in Hollywood history. It's alive. It's alive. One of the great moments there in film. And the Frankenstein film was an even bigger hit than Dracula. This is what started off. They said, you know what, we're going to make sequels. Yeah, we saw him burn down, but we're going to say he didn't die in that fire. we're going to say he didn't when they burned down the farmhouse. We're going to say he didn't die in that, just cause.
Right.
And so they invented the sequel, Bride of Frankenstein. One of the first films where the sequel was actually superior to the first, along with Aliens.
It happens.
It happens. Yeah, Bride of Frankenstein is the sequel, but also nerd tip. Igor, that whole thing with the Hunchback servant starts from the first movie, but the Hunchback servant in the first Frankenstein film, his name is Fritz, not Igor. Igor doesn't come into the third film, Son of Frankenstein.
Oh, so that's where that comes from, because I know it's a little off topic, like, because this goes back to like video games we were talking about, like in Castlevania when you battle Frankenstein, Igor's fucking jumping across the room and he's like the challenge of that boss. And I always wondered, like, why is Igor in this? Isn't he the Hunchback of Notre Dame? Like, why is he on this guy's shoulder? Like, I don't know, just a little thought. But I guess that's where it comes from.
Again, remember, this is independent movie pictures becoming Universal Studios. They did the Hunchback of Notre Dame. They did the Hunchback of Notre Dame as a silent film. So, and Phantom of the Opera, all of those. So yeah. So they liked the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Why not make him a?
Right, the Hunchback was Quasimodo. He was Quasimodo, so it wasn't Igor. It's a different.
You're right.
All Hunchbacks aren't the same, Ivan. Okay,
you're right. You're right.
This motherfucker, man. They all look the same.
Hunchback lives matter.
They all look alike.
They all look the same to me.
Hunchback lives matter, man.
Jesus Christ, man.
Oh man, dude.
It's like, no, man. He's a left-sided hunchback.
Right.
Oh, that's good. Oh man.
They also had, let's see.
Where did they get that from? So they just they had Hunchback of Notre Dame before the Hunchback that was I guess like hunchbackism was like scary back then. That's like somebody with
They
like
just
an
picked on,
ailment.
I think basically they picked on a
You know what I'm
weakness.
saying? Like
This
somebody with an
motherfucker
ailment,
said
they're like,
hunchbackism.
Hunchbackism. He just made
Hunchbackism,
an
bro.
ism.
Hunchback is
Yeah. I believe
it's
it's
an
called
ism.
scoliosis, my friend.
Right. It was a weakness. It was a weakness. So he was looked at as a little weak character, you know.
Yeah.
No, but also like disfigured people back then, man, that was like
Right. It
really
was a freak.
freaky, bro.
Freak.
Because
Yeah.
they
Right.
didn't they like, you know, now we know. Now we're like, okay, it's scoliosis, but when you saw a dude look like that, that was
All right. Hey
traumatizing back
Swerve,
then, dude.
let's get out of the black and white era and
All
fast
right.
forward a little bit.
All right. So let's go ahead
Let's
then.
let's
All
get
right.
some
You have
color. Let's
all
get
right.
some
So
color
horse.
onto this
And because
So
monochromatic
you know,
occasion.
now,
here's a fact though. In the black and white era, all the monsters choked out the people they killed. If you watch the films, Dracula choked people, Mummy choked people, Wolfman choked people, Frankenstein choked people. You know, that's how they killed people in the movies because it wasn't, you know, they couldn't have the blood and all that gory
That's what I
stuff
was
back
about to
then.
ask. Yeah.
yeah.
Was it
So,
some
There was
regulation shit?
only there were it's not certain regulations. They didn't really know how to make it believable enough.
yeah,
This is the earlier days of film, and you know, at about that time, I'm sure for anyone that studies, there's a original old school black and white filmmaker that started though that before silent film even became a big thing. He used camera tricks to do special effects. It would take a visionary. And this is no drop back to all the Universal monster directors, one of the actors, Boris Karloff, who also played the Mummy, and all those other films, but they just didn't have that think bigger thing in there. And this is where it comes in. Now, I stated earlier that horror and comedy walked hand in hand. Sure enough, in the 40s, Universal Pictures, now a bigger studio in the line with MGM and all of those, they picked at the time two of the biggest stars in comedy, Albert and Costello. Sure enough, the first thing they did was, these guys would be really good in a horror movie. Albert
mm-hmm.
Costello, meet Dracula, meet Frankenstein, meet the Wolfman, the
Yeah.
whole deal. There was a whole chain of films, and they're actually funny. The best part of it was they didn't change the Universal monsters at all. They even got the classic actors to play them. They didn't change the way they're portrayed. The monsters were just as scary as they were, comparatively in the time period, were just as frightening as they were. But it was Abbott and Costello bringing in the comedy. And it worked brilliantly. Abbott would freak out, just go on, lose his mind, see the mummy murder someone right in front of him, and he always tries to. Not Abbott, sorry. Costello would just freak out, and he'd run to Abbott, who would be the straight man who doesn't believe in any of this, and he gets dragged into this whole mystery while they're trying to solve murders and all this stuff happening around them. And it's a brilliant film.
All right, let's fast
Brilliant
forward to
series
the
of films.
70s. Let's get into the 70s
So,
where it started getting a little more graphic and
well, we're about to go there. Then came the 50s and the 60s. The 60s is where you got the 50s and
Chainsaw
60s.
Massacre.
This is where you got even before that. This is where you got Psycho.
Yeah, but that was
The original Psycho.
Psycho was the scariest shit back then because nobody
Back then.
expected it.
No-
You know what I'm saying?
nobody
That's
it was,
right.
that was the start of the slasher film, and they broke the rule. You
Yeah,
kill the main star at the beginning of the film. And that was the
yeah.
brilliance of Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock wrote mystery books. So, of course, he was going to write, he was going to get behind making films. By the way, yes, all the Universal monsters started off in books as well, whether it was Bram Stoker, who did Dracula, or Mary Shelley, who did Frankenstein. So it always starts off in books. Books have always been the horror story, like the campfire hand-me-downs, that scary, scary stories that we all tell each other. So you go into, yes, the 50s. You had Psycho, and that started the slasher films. In Europe, you had all these psychological thrillers. All of a sudden, your monsters become less monstrous, and you start dealing more with what? Again, your human monsters, your psychos, your the creepy guy that stalks people. There's a film, Twisted Nerve, that there's a scene in there with this guy. I'm sure you all remember the movie Kill Bill, the whistling
Yes.
sound that you hear throughout that movie. That's from Twisted Nerve. It was a British film where this guy is following this couple, he's stalking them, and he whistles this whole tune.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a very
Is that
intense
what
moment.
that came from? Where did that
Yes,
tune come from? I was always
it's called
curious as to
Twisted
what
Nerve.
that.
It's called Twisted
Wow.
Nerve. Because people would walk around and whistle back then. That was a thing. It wasn't viewed as creepy until that film.
Oh, you don't have to tell us Latinos about whistling.
So you go in, and yeah, you get your slasher films in America. Of course, in the 50s, you also get your horror sci-fi. You get your B movies, Twilight Zone, stuff like that. But the big one was Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Hey, Irv.
Paranoia. Yeah.
Real quick, because you don't seem to be responding to your text messages or anything. Just remember to read the private chat. It's on your right hand side. But anyway, continue. I digress.
Yeah. So you go into those films again. You go into there. Then we go into the 60s. This is where you get your gritty 60s and 70s. Is you get your gritty slasher flicks, the independent films. This is where you get those 70s realist films. Late 70s, you get the films like what's it called? Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah,
the film that
Texas
was
Chainsaw.
banned.
Texas
Texas
Chainsaw was
Massacre.
yeah.
This is where you got your gritty.
Is
gritty film.
April Fool's Day? Is that from the 70s?
Oh my God,
Yes.
dude.
April Fool's Day.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What
Well,
an ending.
look. Well,
What an ending.
So in the private chat, Irv, let's just stick from 1940 to 1960, and then it's just we can't crunch all this into one episode. We have about 18 minutes left, so let's just deep dive into 1940 to 1960.
Well, we've already done all that. That was mainly Universal.
That's Universal Monsters.
That's Universal Monsters. They ruled for.
We can start
decades.
talking. '70s is so much stuff though. We could start a little bit of the '70s right now and pick
we'll
up
touch it.
where
But
we
I'll
left
go a little
off.
further.
All right,
We'll
let's
start
do it.
Early '70s. Chainsaw Massacre. It changed the game. It changed the game. It was so graphic and it was different from anything people have seen.
Yeah, it wasn't. Would you argue that was like the first time it was almost like a psychopathic killer as opposed to like a supernatural killer?
You go into
did that come before Psycho?
The 70s.
No.
That came way after Psycho. And then
Psycho
of course you got films.
True.
You've got films like The Haunting. You start getting the ghost stories. Remember, special effects started coming up about the late 60s and stuff like that. So you have The Haunting. You have all those ghost films coming up. And there's multiple films called The Haunting. There's The Entity. Yeah, there's The Entity. That one went straight to movie. But yeah, there's nudity in that one too. Horrifying. It's about a ghost that physically and emotionally and assaults a woman.
And then there's
based on a natural case.
The Exorcist broke all type of records. That was like 73. The 70s, man, is full of so much horror, man. That's where it really transcended horror. It changed so much and became what it is now. It's like horror. It's such a caught thing with the horror genre because a lot of people just watch certain horror movies. But then there's people who watch the B-rated shit, the C-rated shit, the foreign horror movies. Like
I'm okay with B and C, dude.
Me too. I watch it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? When you watch horror, that's what you have to watch it for. You can't watch horror and expect it to be this Oscar-winning fucking performance.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna see some goofy ass shit, especially if you're in the B-rated shit. Like these motherfuckers can't act, but you're gonna get gore. You're gonna get some good kills. And that's what a lot of horror fans really want. That scare. They want that you know, they're chasing that scare. That's what I am anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because
man.
I haven't been horrified from a movie since I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? But
I
I never
agree,
like
man.
my wife. She jumps all the time. I love watching movies with her because she jumps. You know what I'm saying? Me, I anticipate everything that's gonna happen anyway, so I'm not gonna jump.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
It was a long.
My wife cringes at like nails being broken or like things like that. She's like, and covered. I'm like, that. Like I see motherfuckers' intestines pulled out.
Right.
They
Right.
did the gore thing. But
I
the
also
reason we're
want to
going
say
into the
that
70s, go ahead.
I do feel like we're jumping in the 70s. I mean, we still got some good ones here, dog. We still got Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, that's a universal monster. Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Right, but this is all pre-70s. Like we still haven't touched on The Fly, which will tie us into the 80s at some point.
Yes.
The original Fly was
Well, the original
60s?
Oh, The Fly, yeah.
1958.
Okay, so the one with the big head.
Yeah.
With the big fly head.
With the claw.
Man.
To me, that was goofy. It was goofy. There's nothing scary about that big goofy fly head. Like if that Joker came running towards you. Now Jeff Goldblum's Fly. When we get into
dog.
that,
I mean, you can't compare the two, dog.
Yeah.
But that's like my kids. But that's like my kids will watch like The Matrix, and they're like, that shit looks so fake. Like I'm like, dude, just don't ruin it. Like just watch it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like when The Fly came out in 1958, my dude, that was like gross. Like motherfuckers were like, ugh.
Well, here's why. Here's why. Because once you get into the 60s, mind you, once you get into the 60s, this is where the monsters stopped being scary and the public likes them so much. They became comedy characters. Remember Addams Family, which had influence based off a comic strip. And of course, the other one, which actually had Frankenstein as a father figure, The Munsters.
The Munsters, yeah. But you touched on that Abbott and Costello opened up all that horror comedy stuff.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's what they did.
Were still the monsters.
If you look at it, there is horror. Horror has a genre with everything next to it. There's action horror. There's comedy horror. There's drama horror. You know what I'm saying? So you can touch on everything about horror. Like so.
Yeah, man.
So and
I'm surprised no one's mentioned The Blob.
Dog, I was about to mention that.
The original
Blob.
Blob.
How is that scary? There's just like a
no. It was crazy though. It's like this big ass, but it's unstoppable. That's the thing about it. It's just like this big unstoppable mass that just keeps growing.
Yep. Nah, that shit was freaky. I mean, look, I remember the
I would have got away from the Blob.
You would have got everyone would have got away from the Blob.
I don't know, Albert. I think you might have got drunk and tried to go play with the Blob.
You know what I mean?
I'm gonna jump in this motherfucker.
Well, the original Blob, it was like most early sci-fi horror films.
And that was an alien. It was an alien. So
in the 80s remake, it was a science experiment gone wrong.
But think about this though.
No,
you're right though.
Incorrect.
That wasn't the Blob. I think that was the thing. No, that wasn't the Blob. That was the stuff. The 80s experiment. It was called the stuff.
The Blob came in on. The Blob came in on a meteor in the remake.
In the original, yes.
No. In the remake. No, in the remake.
In the remake, it did come in a meteor.
In the 1980s, The Blob, it came in a meteor.
There was a movie called The Stuff.
At the very end of the movie, you have the evil scientist that comes in and explains it. And the main character, who, by the way, who was the main character in that in the 80s remake? Wasn't it, what's his name? From Entourage? Well, anyway, he says it. It was just some science experiment, that the government screwed up. Yeah, it was a science experiment, a germ warfare project.
How the fuck did it come in a meteor, dude?
It didn't. It wasn't a meteor. They were running experiments by launching it into orbit to see how much it could withstand, and of course the thing crashed to Earth unexpectedly.
Interesting.
Yes. So they were running experiments on this the whole time. So it wasn't an alien thing. That's what they thought it was. And it turns out it was a germ warfare project that the government dreamt up. That was the remake. And it made sense because how it spread was like an amoeba. It just ate everything, just grew and grew and grew and grew bigger. And
Yeah, but like
you know,
people could not get away from this. Like that's the weird thing about it. Like
well,
that thing would be like crawling on the ceiling, and like no one knew how to get out of the room and just shut the door, and that's it. Like
by the time they saw
movie's
it, it would
over.
drop
Right.
on
Like
Right.
you leave
Yeah.
the room, you shut the door.
Well,
You're
white
in-
people are curious. They
You're
have
in
to-
Kansas City
yeah,
by the time this thing
they're
makes it.
curious people in nature.
They become
wanna-
hypnotized.
Right.
They just
They're like,
stare at the
"Oh,
ceiling.
Ooh,
What is that?
What is it? Let me touch
What is
it."
this?
Yeah, there's something about that.
Let me
Right.
let me
And then
taste
they
it.
run up instead of down and out the house. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes,
I'm gonna run
that was another one.
upstairs. So if I
They're gonna
jump,
run
I'll
up
break
the
my
stairs,
fucking
like,
leg. Like,
dude,
Somehow they forgot how to
run out
dial
the back.
911.
Right.
Jump the fence, go.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And there's
that
always
was
a
another
stick
thing.
in the way, by the way.
Mm.
Oh yeah, there's something you trip over or fall, like the stairs.
Well,
That
those,
you've
Yes,
those
climbed
are
sir.
the
up
type of
100,000
those
times
are the
before.
type of horror movies that I just can't watch. Like if
No,
you're
but that's every
tripping
slasher film.
and you're like
every slasher
falling
film.
everywhere, like I can't watch that
That's
shit
every.
unless it's so bad.
Yeah. I get
Unless it's
frustrated.
so bad that that like it's intentionally bad. Like
Yes.
you know, it goes back to what I was talking about, like April Fool's Day. Like
Yo, dope movie.
that was meant to be bad. Like it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
so
I'm okay
bad,
with that.
Genius.
but
Hey,
but it was great. It was, you know, it. I think that might be the first slasher film I ever saw.
so
And-
look, we'd be wrong if we left here without mentioning Night of the Living Dead, Romero.
Oh man,
George
I was
Romero.
getting there,
Yeah.
dog.
You're getting there,
You
yeah.
know, we got to
George
give it more
Romero.
than 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Because that thing right there, it changed the game in a couple different ways. It had a black male in it. No, that was the second one. I'm sorry. The first one,
Yeah.
the original one, with the two people in a cemetery. I can hear the fucking name, the girl's name, because he was calling her when they was walking through the cemetery in the beginning of the movie. Remember, it was her and her brother, and they was walking through it, and he kept calling her name, trying to scare her and shit. But yeah, that one changed a lot of shit right there.
They created the zombie genre.
The zombie genre.
Beyond, yeah,
Oh,
the zombie
right.
genre.
which still
Which-
lives still today because
Which
of-
might be one of the biggest horror genres.
My
period.
dude,
It might
that's
be the biggest.
that is a whole Nerdology 101 episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
Zombies
you could
make everything better.
zombies. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Write that down, guys. Write that down.
Mhm.
That's gonna be the next one. We're gonna talk about zombies. The next
well,
one.
we still got to hit the 80s on the next one.
No.
stay
So I
tuned.
was right. The Night of the Living Dead, the original, the star, he was black.
Yeah.
It was a black man.
The
And that, you know,
the
Yeah, you're right. Dwayne Jones.
Yep, that didn't happen. It didn't happen back then. You
It
know, so that
didn't.
changed the
No, it
game too. You know, and not only did it started the zombie genre, that was so that was
Tony
pretty
the
big.
Todd.
zombie genre.
Tony Todd was
Todd.
in it,
Yep.
which is Candyman.
Who later became Candyman. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, but you couldn't have a black hero like back in those
Back
times.
then, no.
Like,
Right,
it
no.
was- you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's why
No.
there was whole like a whole genre created where there was the in the 70s where they had Superfly and all those those movies where they had like the black fucking hero, like the guy that was cooler than cool and he solved everything, you know what I mean? Like they didn't have that. Those were low budget films. They didn't have that. And not to get off subject, but you're right. They didn't have that as like mainstream. It was
It was a genius of George Romero.
those were very small
Romero,
studios.
And if you ever have, if anyone, to all the Nerdology disciples out there, if you ever have the time, go watch Night of the Living Dead, with the original George Romero one. You'll see all the sociological references made in that film.
Her name was Barbara, by the way, the sister.
Yeah, there's a lot of sociological messaging in the film. a lot of statements made in the film. Yeah, it was very political for its time. That was the genius behind it.
There would be no Walking Dead and all this
Right.
shit that we have
Yeah,
Right.
now.
without it, we wouldn't have
Without
Absolutely,
that.
man.
We
Romero,
wouldn't have any
without
of that.
that, no, we
Yep.
wouldn't. You know.
No, that's
Yeah.
absolutely correct, man.
Yep.
I mean,
Now,
it's
I believe there was another flick, and I've never seen it personally, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it. It was called Zombie, I believe, and I want to say that
what
one.
year was that?
You know what? That's not the one I was thinking about. No.
Are you talking
Well,
about
while you look that up, Irving did
Evil
mention
Dead?
a movie earlier that the Cannibal
Zombie,
Apocalypse.
Yeah, that Cannibal Apocalypse.
Dude, that
Cannibal
was
Apocalypse.
man, dude, that movie, that predates Blair Witch Project, which was, basically how Blair Witch Project got its idea. Like, make it it's like a documentary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, found footage.
And
White Zombie.
found foot.
It's called
It
White
was
Zombie.
genius.
What year did White Zombie come out?
1932. So
What?
technically, that's the first zombie. And
Wow, it's called White Zombie.
yeah,
I've never even heard of it.
it's
I've
called
never heard
White
of it.
Zombie.
Cause see, I was gonna give a quick factoid actually that
Now wait a minute.
one
White
of the
Zombie was more of the
earliest
voodoo flick. That was more
Sure,
of a
but
voodoo
it was
type flick.
still a zombie though. If you think
Right,
about it,
but-
voodoo has
but
a
the
lot
word
of
It's
but
not the
that's,
undead
but that's
zombie.
where the word zombie comes from.
Yeah,
Right.
Was a
yeah,
reference
it's a
to
voodoo. It's
Yeah.
the voodoo thing,
right.
but it's not the same thing. It's not Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
We're
So,
talking about undead.
So that was so that was the bit of a factoid that I was gonna touch, right? Was that the earliest case of a zombie where like it resembles the zombie that we recognize today was actually a Smurfs comic book. Did you know that?
Hmm.
And it was actually pretty fucking racist. If you get a chance to check it out, real quick, I'm gonna try and get through this really quick because we only have about 3 minutes. But basically, one of the Smurfs gets bitten on the tail by a bee, a black bee. He then turns black and becomes very angry and violent. He runs around biting all the other Smurfs in the tail, thus turning them black and violent and angry. So they run around until almost every Smurf in the village is a black zombie. And Papa Smurf and I believe I can't remember, Papa Smurf and whoever, they're inside of the mushroom or whatever, mushroom house, and he's concocting the fucking serum to fix everybody. And right as he comes up with it, all the zombie Smurfs come in and attack him, and the bat of medicine or whatever explodes. Mushroom clouds in the air, rains back down on Smurfland, and cures them all. But the first one that got bitten, the original Patient Zero, still kind of was still angry and violent. That is the angry Smurf that we know today. What the fuck was his name?
Angry.
Grumpy Smurf.
Grumpy.
Yeah, so that's Grumpy Smurf. Little factoid. But
Yeah.
just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
That was, I think, 1963 or something like that.
Another one from the
Before-
70s that was really cool.
60s or 70s?
Like 60s or 70s. So it's really old.
All right, 60s or 70s.
Same thing.
It just came to my mind right now.
80s or
hump,
90s.
Right, left hump, right hump.
No,
Same thing.
They all look the same to me. 80s, 90s, whatever.
And I could have this one wrong. Remember that movie it was called Food of the Gods, and like these insects would eat some food and they became like the size of cars.
Yes,
You know
on
what
the
I'm talking about?
farm.
Yeah, that's
On the farm, right?
On the farm. Before that was the film that also did that, giant ants, called Them. It was called Them. That was the original.
Dude, when they had those mosquitoes in the woods and the wasps that were like the size of fucking cars. I was like, oh my God, that would be like the worst.
Yeah.
Fellas, we got to wrap it up, man. It's been 1 hour. It was good.
All right.
Good. We got to get better
if
at
we
writing,
get-
man. But
if we
this
get
was good.
if no we did fine. I mean, if you go back to the again going into the 50s, if you're going to go all the way back there, let's not forget that the 50s is when America was exposed to Japan's import of monsters, Godzilla.
Well,
Now
hey,
the
look, man.
first one,
Gojira.
Gojira. Yeah, the first one though, the original Godzilla film was black and white, and it's a
Factoid.
totally different atmosphere of Godzilla. He doesn't have scales. He's made entirely of tumors.
Factoid. Godzilla is based on of lore, Japanese lore of Gojira,
Yes.
a demon. Look it up.
Well, I'm glad we're doing this 2-part because we didn't even touch on.
It's a 3-part.
Oh,
It's gonna have to be.
That's fine too. because-
Read the fucking private chat. God damn it. You guys are killing
Jesus,
me. Anyway,
guys.
all right, man. I'm out of here. I'm trying to do a show here, guys. All right, man. Thanks, guys,
More
for
on
joining.
this to be continued.
Yeah. Stay tuned, man. Hit it, Kleiss. Next week,
bro.
same.
Same.
Same
Oh,
bad
this
time.
is the bat. This is a
Same
bat
bad
show, man.
channel.
I didn't know this was a fucking Batman.
You're
episode.
Batman.
Oh, I didn't know I was Batman this time. My bad. I'll have it ready next time, man.
Nah,
I'm
you're right.
high, man.
Hey,
Fucking
what's
high.
the name of the dude from the Rob Zombie movies?
Oh, which one? Rob Zombie?
The clown.
Oh, Captain.
Kleiss saw it coming.
Wow.
Kleiss saw it
Why gotta
coming.
go there?
God
Why
damn
gotta
it.
go there?
I ain't even gonna tell you his name. That's all I gotta say is fuck you.
What's the matter, kid?
I
You don't
can't
like
wait to talk
clowns?
about
Damn,
those
that
movies.
boy's quick.
Cut.
I
That
can't wait
boy's
to talk
quick.
about those movies.
Cut.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate your expertise and your knowledge. Kleiss, thank you for showing up. We definitely needed your expertise.
Yep.
Thank you to the nerd level 10 here, King Nerd, Big Swerve, and thanks to Ivan, the man of the hour, the
eye
party
candy.
animal
He's the
himself.
eye candy. That's what he's
Yeah.
here for.
Oh yeah, he's
eye candy. Woo!
he's the cleavage. He is the cleavage. The legs are the face. Cleavage is where it's at.
Yeah, that's where it is. And keep the camera lower.
All
Yes,
right,
we know
man.
your
Thank
eyes
you.
are up there.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave comments, man. Let us know what the hell you want to know about, and we'll dig in a little deep. And we're just kind of setting the tone here, but ultimately we want to do more deep dives and stuff like that for you level 4 nerds and up. But once again, man, thank you to everybody. Peace.